So the Black Ops 7 discourse is getting a little bit tiring, and very often it's pretty popular to hate COD, which it has several flaws, but it kind of ends up being one of those things where the cycle ends up being that a bunch of people just say the game is trash, and then there's people that glaze the hell out of it because they think it's amazing. It's almost like there's no middle ground when it comes to talking about Black Ops 7. And this isn't an exclusive thing to just Black Ops 7. There's tons of gaming things that this gets involved with, movies, television, and all kinds of different things. And it's just gotten worse, especially since COVID and lockdown 2020. It seems like there's been a natural divide where people don't really know how to articulate their thoughts when talking about specific things. And it inevitably just breaks down to a handful of things that they end up just repeating and regurgitating. And it's basically the same shallow talking points without much depth, actually explaining the nuance of their opinion and how we can agree to disagree or agree or disagree. It's just literally the same talking points, and it gets tiring, especially on this video. It's going to be like, it's trash, even though that's the whole point of the video. These people are brain rotted to the point where they don't know how to articulate their thoughts. It's okay for you to not like Black Ops 7, and it's okay for you to like Battlefield 6, and it's okay for you to not like either, and it's okay for you to like both, and it really doesn't matter what anyone thinks, but if you're going to go ahead and put the opinion out there, you got to go ahead and try and articulate it. Otherwise, you're just being annoying. And like I'm saying, it's not like the criticism isn't valid, especially for a franchise that's been around for as long as it has, with various different studios and various different changes and different implementations and experimentations with the player base. And the same could be said for several other games. But it goes back to it just lacking the depth in the conversation. People have kind of forgotten why they even dislike things, and they just default to outrage or dismissal, which is kind of one of those things where it doesn't allow for a conversation, which is kind of what comment sections are for. What Twitter discourse used to be about, or Reddit post, or whatever the heck you get your information and you communicate with others. Those things just don't really happen anymore. And I was thinking this because I was scrolling through YouTube and I saw a lot of videos. The vast majority fall into kind of two different buckets. Either people are glazing Black Ops 7, which is a smaller number, and then there's people just blindly hating on it. They already had their video rendered before Black Ops 7 was even announced. It's that level of disdain where it just lacks that nuance of discussion. And if people are going to provide actual critique, they should have some level of things that they like, the things they dislike, maybe something that's regressed, something that's progressed or improved, and then maybe something new. If there is something new, maybe talk about that and their thoughts about that and how it will be implemented in the game. But that doesn't happen. Again, they'll just say it's trash, and they'll even just put those big letters on the thumbnail. Literally, it's trash, it's garbage. Or the opposite is also true, where it's like, it's amazing. It's like, bro, it's just the beta. There's things you can like, there's things you can dislike. It's fine. It should be in impressions where you're giving a little bit of both takes. And if you're at the point where you're making a video and there's nothing you dislike about it, that's probably a fake impressions video. And if you're at the point where it's all negative and there's nothing you can say positive about it, that's also probably a fake impression video. But in that particular instance, they should probably move on to another game they like. And the beauty of gaming is there's hundreds and hundreds of games to choose from, and we're kind of at a point where you can really play whatever you want. In this case, I know a lot of people are really hyped about Battlefield 6 next week. I've been playing Ghost of Yotei. I know Hades 2 just dropped. There's another game called Mega Bonk that's been incredibly popular in the past week or so. But myself being a gamer, I've played, I think, 27 different games this year. Last year was like 33 or something like that. So I play a lot of video games, usually cycle one every other week and a half or week or so, and get my hands on it. I usually complete about 80 to 90% of them. The ones I don't, I generally just didn't find interest in and didn't like. And that's to say, if Black Ops 7 isn't your thing, that is completely fine. You don't owe me an explanation of why you're not going to play it. You don't owe Activision. You don't owe Call of Duty. But you do owe it to yourself to probably play a game you like and that you want to play and that you enjoy, and invest that miserable time into the things you actually enjoy. Because gaming, for like it is for me, is a fun hobby for entertainment. If you're not getting that, maybe find a new hobby. But getting a little bit to the part that also ends up being a problem is the tribalism around these types of things. Tribalism in general, we generally see it, especially when like Xbox comes out with a specific game, then the PlayStation fanboys will kind of hate on that game, and then the Xbox fanboys will like glaze the hell out of it. It's dumb in both directions. And then the opposite also happens. PlayStation game comes out, PlayStation people hype it, Xbox people talk about how the performance is bad or it's trash or whatever. Completely disingenuous. But there's that tribalism where, for me, it always sucks because I don't really fit into the tribalism. So a lot of times, if I'm providing a more nuanced take that I cover both sides, it's going to be the people on both sides that kind of hate it because they want me to be on their team, or they see me as on the other team, which in both cases, neither's the case. I'm not on nobody's team. I just want the game that I cover to be as good as possible. As we've seen with my previous video, I kind of stepped away from Warzone because it has no direction, no vision in the direction I can see myself playing it on the regular, versus something like Black Ops 7. I can definitely fit into the mix with the 20-hour campaign or more with the seasonal content, like 40 maps by the end of the life cycle, 40 weapons by the end of the life cycle, zombies, full 7 maps, tons of content. Doesn't mean I'm gonna no-life that game. That's the only game I'm gonna play. Like, no, I can play tons of games and I will continue to play them throughout the year. But like I said, I'll get accused if I say anything negative that I'm just being a hater. And if I say anything positive, people lean on the, you're a shill. How much are they paying you? And it goes back to kind of some of that thing where people are just defaulting to like just outrage or dismissal of what I'm actually saying. They don't want to actually articulate an argument that goes against or with, or to further dive into what my thoughts are on a specific topic. They just want to go ahead and kind of cast it out there and not have that discussion. It kind of loops back to what I was talking about with those extremes. I see them both regularly. Because when I was talking negatively about Warzone and being honest about my opinions, people were like, quit hating, quit hating. And then when I said, ooh, I like this, you're a shill, you're a shill. I was like, bro, like, you cannot win. And I'm used to that. It's fine. I understand it. There's plenty of people in the comments that see the nonsense too. On Twitter and in YouTube comments and Twitch when I live stream and a bunch of other places. It gets a little bit out of hand, but it's just the nature of the beast. I just wish that it wasn't so fatiguing. I wish I could really engage with the community and people can engage back in a way that isn't just brain rotted. Like they don't understand why they're even hating anymore, or you know, whatever the case is. It's kind of actually kind of weird. On top of that, I think it has significantly diminishing returns the more people that just say the game is perfect or the game is trash, because at the end of the day, that doesn't provide the developers any feedback to go off of. I know I've gone and talked to certain devs and I'll bring up a certain thing and they will just be out of the loop, not aware of that being even an issue. And I think a lot of it is just because COD community is kind of dumb a lot of ways, and they're just not able to articulate the thoughts of what are pros, what are cons, and they'll just default to trash. And since a lot of people are of that same mindset, they'll just default into that and lean into it, and it doesn't actually provide any depth. It's very shallow types of feedback, but that's why the game doesn't end up improving the way you like. It just ends up being that's not necessarily a review or feedback. That's just noise, just for the sake of noise. And unfortunately, it is pretty draining, fatiguing, and tiring to see. Either way, I'm enjoying the game quite a bit because it's not the only game I play. I'm looking forward to Battlefield 6 next week, primarily as a weapon leveling simulator for the battle royale, because you do need to level weapons if you want to use them max leveled in your loadout in battle royale. So the same chore we got to do in COD, they copied it and they're going forward with it. And I'm not seeing a lot of people complaining about it the same way they complain about it in COD. So it's almost like there's a double standard there, because both instances suck and they're not particularly good. They should be rapid, fast, and all that, but that's another conversation. Either way, see you on the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.